Thousands of women are gathering in New Orleans to celebrate the 10th anniversary of V-Day, the global movement to combat violence against women and children. Today, a Democracy Now! Special. We'll hear from V-Day founder Eve Ensler, as well as women activists from New Orleans, Iraq, and Kenya. All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. President Bush has announced a freeze to all U.S. troop withdrawals from Iraq after some brigades withdraw in July. The top U.S. commander in Iraq, General David Petraeus, told lawmakers this week troops need to stay in Iraq to protect what he called the gains of the so-called surge. On Thursday, Bush said Petraeus would have, quote, all the time he needs.
After detailed discussions with my national security team, including the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, Joint Chiefs of Staff, I've accepted these recommendations. The recommendation likely to receive the most attention is on troop levels.
Bush also said he will seek to decrease the length of deployment in Iraq and Afghanistan from 15 months to 12 months. The change will only apply to deployments beginning in August. Also Thursday, Defense Secretary Robert Gates said he's abandoned hopes of reducing the U.S. military occupation to less than 100,000 troops by the end of this year. At a Capitol Hill news conference, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid criticized Bush's announcement.
This is not a so-called troop withdrawal pause. With today's announcement, the President signaled to the American people that he has no intention of bringing home any more troops. Instead, he's leaving all the tough decisions to the only person that is going to have to make those tough decisions, the next President of the United States. The President has a timeline, January 20th of next year. Our troops also need a timeline.
Turned off, everything turned off. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi also criticized President Bush. Pelosi said the White House is entrenching the Iraq occupation to last beyond Bush's presidency.
Us into a failed war. He's taken us deeply into debt, and he's taking that debt is taking us into recession. We need some answers for the president.
Meanwhile, in Iraq, at least 10 civilians were killed Thursday in the latest U.S. attack on Sadr city. 2 of the dead were reportedly young boys. A Sadr city resident said he blamed Iraq's government.
What did those families do? What did all those people do to be killed in this way? The reason is our new government. It is our fault to support and elect such a government. It is our fault. What did those families do? What did those martyrs do to be killed in this way?
In other Iraq news, the Pentagon has announced it'll continue to hold the imprisoned Associated Press photographer Bilal Hussein despite an Iraqi order for his release this week. A 4-judge panel ruled Hussein falls under an amnesty law and should be freed without delay. Hussein has been held for nearly 2 years without charge. The Pentagon says it needs more time to study Hussein's case before responding to the order. 2 former senior intelligence officials have come forward to confirm reports senior Bush administration officials personally discussed and approved how top al-Qaeda suspects would be interrogated by the CIA. This week, ABC News revealed a principals committee on the National Security Council agreed on controversial interrogation techniques, including physical assault, sleep deprivation, waterboarding. The officials included Vice President Dick Cheney, former National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice, Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld, and Secretary of State Colin Powell, as well as CIA Director George Tenet and Attorney General John Ashcroft. In an interview with the Associated Press, A former U.S. senior intelligence official said the group met in the White House Situation Room. They deliberately insulated President Bush from their discussions on approving the harsh techniques. The discussions were said to include live demonstrations from CIA officials of the interrogation methods, including waterboarding. The American Civil Liberties Union is calling for a congressional investigation. ACLU Legislative Director Carolyn Frederickson said, quote, "With each new revelation, it is beginning to look like the torture operation was managed and directed out of the White House. This is what we suspected all along." The World Bank has joined calls warning of a global crisis over the rising cost of food. On Thursday, World Bank head Robert Zoellick urged wealthy nations to commit at least $500 million to ease a world food program shortfall. Zoellick said the prices of rice have risen 75% over the last 2 years, hitting poor people the hardest.
This is about recognizing a growing emergency, acting, and seizing opportunity too. The world can do this. We can do this. We can have a new deal on global food policy. First, for the immediate crisis, the international community must fill the at least $500 million food gap identified by the UN's World Food Program to meet emergency needs.
In Israel and the occupied territories, Israeli tanks have entered the Gaza Strip in a new flare-up of violence there. 4 Palestinians and 2 Israelis have been killed in cross-border attacks this week. Israel, meanwhile, has again cut off all fuel shipments to Gaza. Officials say Gaza's one power plant has enough fuel to last about a week. Mother Jones magazine has revealed a private security firm staffed by former Secret Service agents spied on several environmental groups beginning in the late 1990s. The firm, Beckett Brown International, later S2I, stole documents from trash bins, planted undercover operatives within groups such as Greenpeace, collected phone records, and spied on meetings the company has worked for clients, including the Carlyle Group, Walmart, Monsanto, Halliburton. A German citizen ignored by the U.S. court system despite his kidnapping and torture by the CIA has brought his case to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. In 2003, Khalid al-Masri was seized in Macedonia and flown to Afghanistan, where he was held in a secret prison and tortured. Attorneys say his kidnapping and torture has left him a psychological wreck. Last year, al-Masri lost final appeal to have his case tried in a U.S. court. The Bush administration had invoked the so-called state secrets privilege to deny al-Masri a trial. This week, the American Civil Liberties Union said it would ask the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights to demand an apology from the White House. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. We're on the road broadcasting today from New Orleans.